So, we're stranded on an alien planet in a snowy tundra with nothing but our wits, a few basic supplies. Gotta make contact with home, but night's gonna fall soon. Night comes the biters. They are none too happy about our presence. Greetings, I'm Apocrypha of APOC Industries, and this is an intro to my modern Factorio Let's Play series, Tundra Terror. Let's go through some of the key settings and mods that we'll be using here. First and foremost, we have the Alien Biomes mod, which is going to add a bunch of eye candy in terms of biomes to explore. The snowy landscape that we're going to start in, for example, is part of Alien Biomes. It also adds the challenge of having our movement slowed down in difficult terrain like snow, which is going to make the early game hours fun. We're using as a base the Rail World settings as a foundation, but we're using Resource Spawner Overhaul, called RSO, to spice things up. When I say spice things up, I mean spread the resources out, so we'll actually have to do a bunch of exploring to find them. Ride around a whole bunch of trains, which, if I'm being perfectly honest, is probably my favorite thing in Factorio. So for RSO, we have oil in starting area disabled. I like the challenge of having to find oil before we can move into the mid-game. And in the resource settings, we keep the standard Railward settings, but bump up the richness of the common resources so they'll last a little bit longer when we do find them. In terrain settings, we have water changed to be medium instead of very big, so we can't rely on walling ourselves off in causeways, which for me takes away a lot of the fun and challenge of the game in the mid-game. We also have cliffs set to none because they're super cute, but I just don't want to deal with them. And then in advanced settings, again, we have the standard Rail World settings with two important changes. The pollution factor is set to 0, meaning that our pollution is not going to cause biters to evolve. And enemy expansion is set to enabled, and its cooldown has been dramatically reduced. This means that over time, biters are always going to be creeping in and be a constant threat. The next major gameplay mod in play here is Rampant. We have Use Pollution as attack trigger turned on. This is why I feel okay about having pollution disabled for evolution. Thanks to Rampant, the biters will constantly be expanding and attacking weak points around the base. It's one of the cool things about Rampant is that they never attack the same place twice. It's like they're learning. Note that I do make one quality of life concession here and make my rail infrastructure invulnerable. So basically anything that goes into the railway, including the rail lines themselves, signals, big power poles, and lights, train stops, those are all impervious to damage, which means that I can always get from one side of the map to the other when I need to defend an area. Because what will end up happening is I'll be working on a base over here, and then a base way across the map gets attacked. And if my rail has broken in between, the game is just not fun at that point because I have to run. And again, because of the Alien Biome, sometimes running is slow and annoying. That being said, with Nocturnal mode enabled, attack waves spawn only at night, which works hand in hand with the day-night extender mod, which we also have in place. I generally spend a lot of time in a sparse world like this without oil, and therefore without robots. So for me, nanobots, early bots, is a critical mod. Because it allows me to build much more easily without absolutely killing my carpal tunnels. It does require some additional setup in terms of like maintaining the ammo that you need for nanobots, so I don't feel like it's completely unfair. It just means that I get access to some really quality of life. The last mod that we're using is called Vehicle Cruise Control, which is another quality of life mod that I use mostly when laying long train tracks, because it allows you to turn on move forward, and then the train will just keep moving forward while nanobots fill out the train track. Move forward, nanobots move forward, etc. You'll see that in play once we get trains going, and we're starting to look for additional resource spawns. So that's it for the mods and the gameplay settings that we're going to be using. The goal of this series is to get to a point where we can launch rockets and hopefully take it further than that. We'll see how that goes. Plan on uploading maybe, an episode a day-ish, hopefully. Yeah, well, let's jump in and see what this Tundra has for us. Thanks a lot for watching.